Now, Miki, I mean, and Radha, both Montreal kids moving to New York, both in finance and both get out of it. So it's kind of an interesting thing, and do cool shit, sort of a byproduct of that, of like, hey, I'm over this, and I'm, don't waste your time. And that's the kind of premise we took away from it. And so, I mean, did you both move together? Miki, did you go for, how did that first move kind of start for the two of you?
Well, we both went to Cornell together, and then we both moved to New York together. We both got jobs investment banking together. I mean, separate companies, but same group, real estate investment banking. We both lived together. We hung out every day. I mean, like, it was like everything we did was together. And then she left banking after 4 months after 9/11, and then I left after a year and a half to 2 years, and then we both never looked back.
At the 4 month point there, Radha, was it sort of like, this is it, I'm over this?
9/11 happened. Like, literally, it was my first job out of college, and then 9/11 happened. And it was like this sort of moment of life that you're just kind of like, it just rocked you to your core, around like, how can people be so evil? And then you ask yourself, like, well, am I in a job that if I was to die tomorrow, I would want to continue to be in? And the answer was no. Like, finance is probably the furthest thing I would ever want to kind of like sink my teeth into. Though I'm super grateful. Like, Miki and I both would agree that like it gave us, real skills with which to be able to build our businesses and not be afraid of looking at P&Ls and like, understand numbers and look at spreadsheets. And I think that those formative years of just doing the analyst training program and going through that, I think set us on a really good path for entrepreneurship.
Who had the first idea you left first, but were you discussing through this whole time going, I'm out of here and I have this idea, or Miki?
Well, we were both. We were both. Sorry, go ahead.
It was fine. I think Miki left on her own volition. I was actually let go because we covered gaming, lodging, and airlines, our industry, and like all that went to crap after 9/11. So I didn't have a choice, and I was like, not looking back.
And I was just the worst investment banker ever. So if I wasn't going to leave, I basically would have gotten fired, probably by myself, though, not the whole group. I would have been the only person fired from my group,
right?
Because I sucked so bad. But it was like what I learned from that experience was so interesting because both Radha and I learned that it's like people would like out hardcore each other. It's like I slept under my desk for 3 days straight, and I brought my toothbrush just to work. And it's like how much, like I pulled 3 all-nighters this week, and we're like, is that a good thing? Because that feels like the worst. And so like Radha and I, like I for me, like I befriended one of the managing directors at Deutsche Bank, and he would leave at 6 p.m. Oh yeah, he would leave at 6 p.m. Thank you. He would leave at 6 p.m. and then I would leave with him, and all the investment banking analysts would be so angry. Like they would just be like, "What are you doing leaving?" I'm like, "Well, he's leaving." He's like, "Well, he's the managing director." I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, like, anyways, that's why I was like imminently going to get fired.
It's almost like it was and obviously we see the movies and we see the thing about how competitive it is, who can work longer, who can make the most money. Everyone seems to have an empty life, really. Do you know any happy people in that profession?
I'm going to say one thing that was such an interesting juxtaposition, and then I'm sure Radha has a bunch of stories. The interesting juxtaposition that I saw was that I remember working at Deutsche Bank and like going in the elevators and everyone being like the saddest, angriest, most like just like, angry people. Then I went back to the investment banks to work on a movie with, what's that famous Black director from Brooklyn? The main guy, the older, like glasses, like
Livingston.
Huh?
John, which?
No. The main
Spike Lee.
Yeah, Spike Lee. It was a Spike Lee joint, and I was working the Spike Lee joint, and and we were shooting like a few scenes like at an investment bank. So we basically like rented a whole floor at an investment bank, and I remember so vividly like going in the front of the elevator banks and riding up with the actual investment bankers. They were so angry, sad, upset. And then I would go in the back and go up to an elevator with like all the blue collar, like all of the film people, all of like the workers, the gaffers, like all the people, and everyone would be laughing, joking, telling stories, like having the time of their life. And it was like, wow, like this is who I don't want to be, and this is who I want to be. Like I want to be having fun, lit up, alive. Like energetically, I saw that so crystal clear.
Wow, that's really cool, Miki. I never knew that story. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I'll never forget that.
Why do you think people waste their time being miserable?
Because of money, status. Go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
No. I mean, yeah, go ahead, Miki. I think it's like money and status, and to cover up pain and suffering, or like to get out of poverty from generations. Like I think a lot of people, look at finance as a way to take care of their whole family, and like that. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I get it. Like we went into it because we wanted to move to New York City. Like we it got us to New York. We got a signing bonus. We got to be able to go to a nice apartment in New York, and it started off our dreams. Like I really am so grateful to the investment banks that hired us to be able to like get us from our colleges to the Big Apple, I mean,
Radha and I also have just some crazy stories. Like the first apartment we ever lived at in New York City, we met this guy coming back from like Radha and I went on a trip like around the Europe, and I think on a trip back we were like riding the buses like from the airport to like the taxis, and we met some random man there, and we were like, we're looking for a place to live, and he was like, you can live with me, and we were like, okay. And so it was like this gross, like just skeezy guy, but we were together.
And also very generous too, to like let us live there. But like, yeah, totally skeezy.
Oh, so gross. You walk around naked.
That's how all bad stories start in New York City. Isn't it?
I know.
But like he guaranteed our first apartment. Like, and my parents said, absolutely no, they're not going to guarantee our first apartment.
Yeah.
So Mickey were like, well, how are you going to do like 40 times your salary or whatever to get an apartment? We asked this like random guy that we met on like at the JFK airport to like be the guarantor for our first apartment, and he generously said yes. So like he
did?
Yeah, Miki, don't you remember? He's on the sign. He was like guarantor for our very first apartment in New York City.
I have zero.
No, we owe him so much. Like he was
Cliff's apartment.
Yes.
Do you still see him around? Do you have a relationship?
I reach out. Like, hey, like you really got it. I mean, like honestly, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, friends, to the Brenton On Tour podcast channel on YouTube. Coffee, music, travel, life, all of those things. One page, lots of guests, lots of chatter. We talk about all of it. If you like it, subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment. I'll get back to you. Thanks, friends. See you next time.